So in the security industry, we've got a term called defense in depth.
Defense in depth?
Defense-in-depth, yeah.
Okay.
And it is the term we use when we talk about making sure that we don't rely on a single piece of technology to keep us safe. Because it's not if, it's when that piece of technology is going to fail or when that piece of technology is going to be circumvented. That we need to have multiple barriers to keep, quote, the bad guys out. And so, today's average user is aware that they need antivirus on their computer. But just yesterday I was reading an article, and I sort of kind of keep track of the stuff that's going on kind of the dark side of the internet, right? I mean, because we have to be aware of what the bad guys are doing in order to be proactive for it. And I was reading a snippet about how circumventing antivirus, all of the antiviruses today, can be done with about 10 lines of code. And so getting around antivirus, basically what antivirus does is it does a fingerprint of the bad software, and it finds, it says, okay, we know what this bad software looks like, so if we ever see it come on the computer, we are going to immediately kill it and stop it from happening. Well, if the bad guys are able to make that piece of software morph so it doesn't look the same every single time, or if they're able to hide it inside another piece of software, or if they're able to encrypt it so it can't even be read to be able to determine what it is, then the antivirus doesn't do any good. And so antivirus in and of itself is not a panacea. We can't rely on that completely. We need it, but it's got severe limitations. So we need those other things, the defense in depth, which is, for me, I am a huge proponent of blocking ads. Now, for a company that sells ads for a living, I understand that's horrible, but today that's where the problems are coming from, right? I mean, that's where ransomware is, and down the road that may shift, but using technology to block that actually is a security mechanism. I'll move away from that in case we don't want to use that particular piece. Using other pieces of software that are more heuristic based. So heuristics would be not what does the software generally look like all by itself, but what is the software actually doing? Should a piece of software that is being displayed on a web page actually be writing to files on my computer? Probably not. You probably shouldn't go to CNN and have CNN start changing files on your computer. That's just unusual. And so based on those heuristics, using software that says, let's not let this happen, or let's at least warn the person who's on the computer that it's happening and let them make the decision. So that's another one. Using a browser or a browser technology that has the ability to basically crowdsource information about websites and whether or not they contain malware. So Google is really good at this, right? Google is able to keep their analytics about, we've seen some of our customers, Google customers, go to this web page and pick up a virus. And so we've seen that happen a number of times. So now let's start to warn the other people that if you go to this web page, there's a possibility you're going to get some malware. So those are good things to do too. And that's starting to become more and more prevalent. Google has been doing it forever. Firefox has some technologies you can add to it. Internet Explorer has some basic technologies built into it too. So those are helpful. Making sure you've got a good firewall. Making sure you've got a firewall that scans things as it comes in and out. It used to be that the home user had a basic firewall that simply just didn't let traffic in. But today you can go to your big box stores and you can buy a firewall that actually scans that traffic as it comes through before it even gets to your computer, make sure that it's safe and allows the good stuff in and keeps the bad stuff out. Lots of different measures that in different ways are protective, but if one were to be compromised, hopefully the others would pick up and keep you safe at the same time, and that's where the defense in depth comes in. Mm-hmm. Of course, technologies like that are much more robust at the enterprise level and have much more capability, are much more complex, not something you typically use at home, but there's a lot more options and a lot more granularity when you get to the enterprise level for all of those things.